Out here at beautiful Lot 35 Lion Crown, talking about your fine cabinets. I've got the island kind of laid out here and want to talk to you about a few things. This template you're looking at is the actual template from Lot 35, so that's where we're using for a starting point. That back wall length is a bit longer than 35 out at Maxfield, so that potentially changes the size of the island, but we'll talk about that in a sec. The first thing I did is decide where to reference the back edge of the island, and I chose not to pull it out flush with this wall because it kind of looked like that would encroach a little too much on the view here. So what I did is actually lined it up with the break in the roof, so it kind of makes sense in a way that the countertop overhang will run right in line with that, and I think it keeps the kitchen contained a little bit better into the kitchen and not spilling out into the grand view. So doing that, the problem is using the same size island, which is not what we have to do, but we'll get to that, with that wall being longer means it's actually a little bit too short for this house, but lengthening it will not only close the gap there, but it will also push it out this way, which we may not want to do. So where I stuck it for now is I set this walkway distance at about 45-ish. Normally it's about 42. They'll give a nice comfortable walking area through there without seeming too huge. But what it does do is it leaves more than I typically would leave over here for a walkway. But because the refrigerator's there, I'm almost tempted to leave it the way it is. Not only because the refrigerator's there, but potentially we're putting a pantry sticking out there as well. So currently, if you make the assumption, I'll have to check the specs that you sent on the actual refrigerator that they're going to use, but most refrigerators end up being around 32 inches deep overall, which is what this square is that's drawn. And you've got about 48 or 49 inches now, so it's on, referencing from where the cabinet countertop is, you have more than I would typically leave. Referencing from where the refrigerator is, I don't think it looks like too much space in between left for a walkway there. We could lengthen the island this way, which would close that space, but also push the overhang on the back more towards the room. So let's look at where this does fall in relation to the dining room currently. It kind of lines up with where the refrigerator will end and the pantry will begin, so whether that helps in a sense that it makes some sense, that's good. If we, for every inch that we narrow down the walkway, we get another inch this way, so to get that down 6 inches, yeah, pushes this out another 6 inches, probably not the end of the world. Then as far as the depth on that pantry, since it is going next to this refrigerator, I know we talked about a shallower depth pantry, and you were probably envisioning one that just came into the depth of this opening and over. But you probably could put essentially a standard depth cabinet, because next to the refrigerator, the distance you're going to lose because of the wall depth almost makes up for the extra depth of the refrigerator. So you could essentially hide the end of that refrigerator by putting, about a 21-inch deep pantry or so here, which would make it stick out from the wall maybe 5 inches or so. But we'd make that end finished, or you could choose to bring that wall out a little bit more if you wanted to. And your options would be to take that wall out entirely and making that cabinet pantry finished in the end of the cabinets, but I think you want something there that's sheetrock to kind of give some separation between where the cabinets end and the dining room begins. So I think it's kind of a toss-up whether or not you'd want that wall deeper to completely cover the side of that, or you'd let it stick out a little bit on that end. Or you could also just make it in line with where the wall is and have the end of that refrigerator exposed. We could also, that cabinet is going to have a cabinet over, the refrigerator is going to have a cabinet over, and we can put a panel on that side, which will come in line with the base on the other side right there. So you'll see the front edge of that refrigerator, but then that panel here would then come back and you'd have your pantry coming into the side of it. What would I do? I'll have to think about that. The good thing about making it the full depth is it makes this walkway make more sense the way it is, because the more visual space you have over there, the more you're not going to want to have a tight walkway there. I don't know. That's a tough call. I think you can go either way. So the question I'm going to ask, I'm going to lay out this wall, this 2x6 wall in here. That won't change in relation to this wall. So I'm going to go ahead and paint that on the floor so you can get your sink, your plumbing brought up into here for your sink cabinet. The question will be whether you want to extend this by another 6 inches or so to shrink down the walkway, but that will get the end of your cabinet out to, another 6 inches. Yes, and to cut 6 inches out of here, you actually add more. Well, anyway, you don't care. Well, you do care, but you don't care. Okay, so I'm gonna post this for you, and you can comment. I'll get your wall drawn in, and we can make decisions about the length of the island in relation to that walkway and the depth of that pantry cabinet and how it all kind of ties together. I will go ahead and spray paint out the perimeter of the island as it sits for you, and you can decide whether that's too much space over there or not. All right, good deal. Again, lovely view, cold as hell, and we'll talk to you soon.